Welcome to A Year in the Bible with Daily Grace. The Bible tells one big story of redemption, and we want to spend 5 minutes every day journeying through the Bible from start to finish and exploring how all of it points to Jesus.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the A Year in the Bible with Daily Grace podcast. My name is Kristen, and today we're continuing to talk through the book of 2 Chronicles with chapters 22 through 24. And to preface today's readings, these chapters are dramatic. They're crazy stories with a lot of names, so stick with me. It's more dramatic than even a modern adventure movie, so buckle up. So we start with chapter 22 with Ahaziah, who just became king. He was 22 when he became king, and sadly, he was another evil one. He did a lot of bad things. He had bad counselors, and he led the people farther away from God. And one of the bad decisions that Ahaziah made was to go to war with Israel against Syria. And in battle, Syria wounded a man named Joram. And so later on, King Ahaziah went down to Judah to make sure he was okay after the battle. But while he was there, a man named Jehu came and not only killed him, but also the princes of Judah. And the Bible even says that the Lord had anointed Jehu to destroy the house of Ahab. But get this, because Ahaziah's grandfather had followed the Lord, the people honored Ahaziah with a respectful burial. And the house of Ahaziah had no one to rule over the kingdom. And when the mom, Athaliah, saw that Ahaziah was dead, she responded in a crazy, cruel, sadistic way. She went, actually, and killed the rest of the royal family of Judah. But a daughter of the king took Ahaziah's son, Joash, and she hid him. And Athaliah ruled for 6 years. And in the 7th year, Jehoiada, a priest, I told you it was a lot of names. Jehoiada was a priest who helped to hide Joash, and he came forward with Joash. They gathered together the Levites and made a covenant with the commanders of hundreds, and they restored the Levites, and they brought soldiers to protect Joash, and together they proclaimed, "Long live the king." But when the mom who was currently ruling, Athaliah, heard the celebration, she went to the house of the Lord, and she tore her clothes, crying out, "Treason, treason," and they put her to death. And then Jehoiada, the priest, made a covenant with the people and the Lord, and they returned to God. And they removed their idols and their statues, and they sang before God. And it was a day of great rejoicing. And then in chapter 24, Joash continued to honor God by repairing the temple of God. For years, the temple of God had been neglected, and so he raised money to repair it. And it was beautiful. It was a season of great rejoicing and celebration for the people. But it didn't last. Unfortunately, Joash later turned from God. When the princes of Judah came to visit Joash, the king listened to them and decided to abandon God and to serve idols. But even then, it's amazing, God did not abandon his people. He sent prophets to tell the people to turn back, to return, but they didn't pay attention. And then Jehoiada's son, Zechariah, came to Joash and called him back to the Lord. But Joash didn't want to hear it. Instead, heartbreakingly, he killed him. Joash killed Zechariah, who was the son of Jehoiada, who had saved his life back in chapter 22. And at the end of 24, an army came against Joash and killed him. Okay, so I told you it's dramatic. It has a lot of names, but hopefully we got through the gist of it. And as we reflect on these chapters, we think about how they all point us to Jesus, how over and over we talked about these books, about the kings, and how there is no perfect king but Jesus. And that's seen here in these chapters as well. But also, you know how Joash was miraculously saved by his sister? Well, this is an amazing part of the story because through this very lineage, the lineage of Judah, Jesus would one day come. Even though evil people had tried to destroy it, they tried to destroy the line of Judah, God preserved his line and he allowed Joash to be saved. And that reminds us of Jesus, who was also born during a time when there was a threat to his life, when infants were being killed and people were seeking to kill Jesus himself. But even still, God preserved Jesus until the proper time, because no one can thwart God's plans, no matter how powerful the people seem to be. Also, in application of these chapters, we notice that God used the faithfulness and the courage of faithful men and women to save the lineage of David and the lineage of Jesus. Our lives matter, our choices matter, and God, he can use whomever he pleases, but what a joy it is when he actually uses us. So it makes me want to be faithful to the Lord, to his word, in the details of my day. Also, looking at the life of Joash, we should take note, right? Just because you're faithful when you're young doesn't mean that you can coast throughout the rest of your life. The moment we let our guards down, we should beware, lest we become tempted just like Joash did and run after the things of the world and forget God at the end of our lives. And on that note, that wraps up today's podcast. But if you'd like to connect more with us, you can find us at Daily Grace Podcast or the Daily Grace Co. on Instagram. And if you'd like to follow along with our Bible study that goes further in depth with each study day, you can check out the Story of Redemption Bible Study on the Daily Grace Co. website, www.thedailygraceco.com. So thanks for listening, and we will talk more with you tomorrow.